now. Sometimes these are difficult to open, and you do have to push around the lock or on the door to open it with ease. Come on in. Oops. So first you're going to want to locate your control panel. On this vehicle here, it's in the hallway. Sometimes it's near the entry door. Here we have the generator start and stop button. If you haven't started the generator in a while, it may be necessary to prime it, and you're going to press and hold in the stop position until your light blinks on. That gets the fuel flowing, and then you press and hold in the start position until it cranks on and you hear it start up like an engine. Okay, it is necessary to wait for the generator to warm up and for power to engage before you start turning on major appliances such as the air conditioner. I like to use the microwave as an indicator, so once you see a time display, you've got power, then you can turn the air conditioner on and other appliances, okay? In order to stop it, press and hold in the stop position. Very simple. One thing to remember before you start or stop the generator, make sure that your AC is in the off position. You don't want a heavy load drawing on your generator when starting or stopping it, okay? So you have your slide control here. These newer slides, they have 4-point metal guide rails, need to be fully extended or fully retracted, nothing in between, okay? So once you've began to go a particular direction, you're committed. So you don't want to stop halfway and reverse direction, extend all of the way or retract all of the way, okay? And you want to be fairly level, so either use the jacks that are on the vehicle or drive up on boards or 2x6s, stacker blocks, whatever you've got handy. Okay, you have tank heaters. This keeps your black and gray tank from freezing in cold weather. Hopefully you won't have to use those very often. You've got your water pump here. Turn it in the on position. It draws water out of your fresh water tank. You'll use this when you're either dry camping or on the road and need water. This supplies water to your sinks, shower, and toilet. Remember, you don't need this on if you're directly connected at an RV park or any city water connection using an external hose, okay? You have the water heater. You have two functions. You have the gas function and the electric function. We tend to suggest not to use the electric unless you've been using an RV for a while. A couple of troubleshooting items or notes here is that the electric is like leaving a hairdryer on the entire time, so it's a heavy load. That in conjunction with the AC can cause your breakers to continuously trip. So it's, again, not suggested to use it in the summer months. It's fine in the winter months. Another potential problem is that if you run out of fresh water in your tank and you've left that on, you could burn up the heating element. So just to kind of simplify things, it's suggested to use the gas function. And once you get to where you're going and you're parked and stationary, go ahead and turn it on. Leave it on for the few days you're at one location. It'll cycle on and off as you need it. You should not see the pilot light come on. If it does, the pilot has blown out. Go ahead and turn it off and back on, and it'll reset. Monitor panel, this LPG is your liquid propane gas. Press and hold it and it'll read out the level. Okay, you've got empty, 1/3, 2/3, and full. You've got your battery level, which is showing full. It should always show full or charged when plugged in, running the generator, or driving. So to get a true reading, you'll have no incoming power. Again, you won't be driving, the engine will be off, the generator will be off, and you won't be plugged in. You'll have a true reading. Fresh water tank, as you use this, it should deplete, and your black tank, that you should start empty. As you use it, it'll increase, right? Don't let it overfill before you empty them. And this particular unit has two gray tanks. A shower tank, which is for the bathroom shower and bathroom sink, and then the galley, which is for the kitchen sink, okay? And we'll talk about dumping those outside. You have your AC thermostat here. It's in the off position. You can turn it to cool, which is the air conditioning, and then or just fan, have the fan running, or the heater. And then you have auto setting, which means it'll automatically cycle on and off once it reaches that temperature, and the fan will shut off. Or you can have the fan on at all times. And then again, your temperature setting, it's suggested to leave it at 72 or higher to prevent it from freezing up. They can freeze up in high humidity conditions or if they're overworked, okay? So we're gonna start from the back and move forward. You wanna be aware of the location of your breaker box. A lot of the Class Cs are located near the base of the walls, near the floor, sometimes at the foot of the bed. This one here is at the foot of the bed, okay? You open it up and you'll see that you've got your black resettable breaker switches, just like what you'd find at your breaker box at home. They're specific to the systems and appliances, and so if you lose power, you may need to reset these at some point. You also have your fuses here, which are just standard 12-volt blade style fuses, automotive fuses. You can replace these at a gas station, okay? If your bedroom has a television in it, it may have an integrated DVD in the side or top of the TV. It may have a loose DVD player around in another cabinet, or it may get a signal from the front DVD player. Okay, we're gonna go into the restroom. A lot of your bathrooms have a GFI 110 breaker in here on the wall. Okay, this happens to control all your 110 outlets, including the exterior outlets. So it may be necessary to reset this if you lose 110 power. And again, those are typically in the restroom, sometimes in the kitchen area, okay? Your sinks are typically a lightweight plastic or composite, so don't melt them with your curling irons or flat irons, and don't gouge them. If you have wall switches, they tend to correspond with the light, so if the light doesn't work, find the wall switch, okay? The showers, pretty self-explanatory with hot and cold water knobs. The shower heads themselves often have some type of shut-off, okay? And that allows you to set your temperature, soak down, turn it off at the shower head, soap up, turn it back on, rinse off, and get out. It's a fairly quick process, okay? Your toilet, you'll need water pressure for this, so either from the water pump or the city water connection, and you'll either have a pedal or a lever on the side, and you're going to depress the pedal halfway or pull the lever halfway to put some water inside the toilet before you use it. That keeps things from clogging up. Once you're done, you'll fully depress the pedal or fully pull on the side lever. It'll drop the waste into the tank, okay? Be sure to travel with the lids down so they don't break. And a lot of times in the bathroom, you'll find your special deteriorating toilet paper or RV chemical. Be sure to use those products only. They're septic safe, they break down easier, and the chemical helps dilute the waste, neutralizes the smell, and just generally breaks it down and it's ready for use. So read the instructions on the chemical before you use them, but be sure to use it. You do have roof vents throughout the vehicle, especially in the restroom, with the vent fan to exhaust the steam. Be sure to travel with these in the down position unless you have some type of cover on the roof, okay? So in order to light your stove, you're gonna turn the knob to the light position and then use your sparker. It's a single directional sparker, but it'll allow you to light the appropriate burner, okay? You can light these individually or you can light them simultaneously. If yours doesn't have a spark knob, use an outside lighter or separate lighter. To light the oven, you'll need a lighter or match anyway, so go ahead and turn the oven knob to the pilot position. There is a spring action here. You're gonna go ahead and press and hold in the in position while lighting the pilot way back underneath, okay? So while holding the knob in the pilot position, light that pilot. Wait about 30 seconds for the pilot to heat up the thermocouple, and once it's nice and hot in there, you can adjust your temperature. You'll see the main tube underneath fire up, okay? In between use, make sure to turn it all the way off. You don't want to leave the pilot on. Relight it each time you need it, okay? Microwave is pretty self-explanatory. It's just like the one at home in most cases. Don't break the plate, right? And sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes it's necessary to set the time before it operates, and you have to do that each time you lose power and regain power, okay? Your sink may or may not have these covers. Please don't use them as a cutting board. And then if it is a composite sink or a plastic sink, again, don't melt or gouge these, all right? Your refrigerator should have an automatic setting. We tend to leave it in the automatic setting so that it will switch between propane and electricity all by itself. That freezer is okay for ice and ice cream, eggs, meat, and milk in the refrigerator. No fish in either of them. And note that it can take anywhere from 2 to 8 hours to cool down. The freezer tends to get cold first and it goes down from there, okay? We also suggest watching the amount of weight that you put on these door trays. You can rip the tabs and the entire door must be replaced. So it's also suggested to maybe take a cooler, one for any fish, but more importantly for any bulky items. So use the cooler for your drinks, save the fridge and freezer for your food, okay? Your couch, more often than not in the Class C's, is going to be a futon style bed or a jackknife sofa. You just lift up and it'll fold down, okay? Your dinette booth will almost always make into a bed. There's different types. Sometimes you have to lift up on the table. It'll unhinge from the wall. Some of your newer ones, the table drops straight down. Nonetheless, they all have some type of ledge here which the table will rest on. Okay, so you're going to move the cushion out of the way. On this one, you have a lever underneath. You're going to open up that lever so that you can then just push down on the table all the way. You're going to use the cushions, including the cushion backs, to fill in the gap, making the mattress. Okay. Something else to be aware of is your propane detector. It detects leaks in the propane system, and those sensors are often located near the floor. This one is underneath the dinette. They all look a little different, but they're a sensor and they'll scream at you just like a smoke detector. Again, they're sensitive to cleaning chemicals, cooking things like bacon, potpourris, aerosols. If you're doing anything like that and it goes off, you can mute it at the button. If you're lounging around and it goes off, smell the floor. The gas sinks to the floor. Check your stove top, make sure it's off. If you're still concerned, you can turn your bottle off outside, okay? This little green light that turns on and off with the push of this little button here is actually an antenna booster. It turns on your roof antenna to pick up local reception, okay? Roof antenna looks like a crank handle. So when you're stationary only, you can go ahead and crank it in the up position. It'll stop once it's up. Again, you want to make sure your antenna booster is on. Sometimes you have a red light that corresponds with it. Then on each of your televisions, you're in the menu setting, do the auto scan, auto search, auto program to find your channels, okay? It also may be necessary to make sure that it's set to an air setting or antenna setting versus cable, okay? And if you're plugged in to the cable at the RV park, you're going to do the same thing and search, scan, or program your channels, but you may have to manually change the TV to a cable setting, okay? And real quick, you'd have to do that on each of your televisions, okay? So your cab over bed usually has some type of cushion with a solid bottom that fills in the gap, and it may or may not have a ladder. This is your cab area. If your vehicle has a privacy curtain, it may Velcro starting on this panel or starting here above the window on these Velcro dots under the visor all the way around for privacy in the windshield. Okay. This is just the truck area. Most of ours are the Ford chassis. It's just like a standard van in most cases. So the engine will only power the dash. Okay, so this air conditioner standard controls will not adequately cool the house of the vehicle. It is necessary to have either the generator running or be plugged in. Okay, so it's okay to turn off the engine once you get to where you're going, and again rely on either being plugged in or the generator to power your house. You have your cruise control settings, and you have an emergency start down here. Now this only functions by pressing and holding the button. What that does is it jump starts you by linking your house battery to your chassis battery and vice versa. So if you fell asleep with the stereo on and in the morning you couldn't start the engine, you press and hold that button while you crank on your engine. Again, it's pulling from the house battery and linking it to or connecting it to your chassis battery. Okay, your stereo may or may not have a backup monitor integrated. That is an optional equipment only, but each one has different setup. All right, you have your electric locks and electric locks and windows, and your mirrors may be manual or electric. Okay, if they're manual, you'll adjust them at the head only, not the arms. All right, that's about it. Thank you.